Chris, Adam, thank you guys so much for being here. This is so much fun. Welcome to Maybe You're Like Me. These guys are amazing comedians, actors, and I could list a lot of things. And it's fun for me because I've actually followed you guys for a long time, and that sounds creepy. It's mostly just looking at your windows at nighttime, but
right.
outside of that,
that's comforting. Yeah, good.
So on the podcast, we've talked to people who are actors, musicians, authors, all sorts of things. And the fun thing is, like, we're just trying to figure out if maybe we're a little bit alike. And on the spectrum of people who might be a little bit like me, you guys are at the tops of people that might be similar to me based solely on previous work experience. Maybe everybody might not know listening to the podcast. I work on a church staff in a creative element, and you guys did the same. Yeah, super dumb.
Boring.
Oh my goodness, get it together. Yeah, no, it's the worst. But no, you guys, you have done something really cool, which is you've taken a big step professionally and transitioned from working in a church to following your dreams. And so maybe for some people listening to the podcast, this is their first time hearing from you guys. So just real quick, for people who may not know you guys, like give us the rundown. Who is Adam? Who is Chris? Let's start with Adam.
Yeah, I started working at a church when I was 24, and it was actually for a guy that my dad worked for when he was younger, and I worked there for 15 years. I was a writer primarily. I worked in children's ministry for a long time, and then I transferred over to storytelling, and that's what I did until about 9 months ago.
That's awesome. Then would you start up?
Oh, well, in the middle of, I became a comedian about 4 years ago. Won a contest to perform before Mike Birbiglia on Broadway, and it was kind of the beginning of my stand-up career. I had written a television show before that, and so the two kind of coincided. And then in the last year, the stand-up and the television show picked up in a big way, where I was able to. It was a kind of a perfect transition. The job was in a good spot to transition it to the next generation, and I was able to become a comedian and a writer full time, and that's what I do every day. Every day of my life.
Every day.
Every day.
That's actually incredible because, like, okay, I'm just going to throw this out there, and this is the same thing for Chris in a second too, but the jobs that you guys have now, they sound so like completely unattainable. Like everybody in Lakeland, like on the top of the list isn't being a comedy writer for a TV show. And so that you have like figured that out and transitioned to that is just so cool. So congratulations on that. Even just from the beginning.
Thank you. It could all come crashing down any minute. So
gotta love a little bit of optimism. You can't go wrong with that. All right, Chris, for people that don't know you, give us the 411 on Chris Munch.
Yeah, so worked in a church for 20 plus years, got my start doing comedy sketches for that church. Like in our youth group, I used to do sketch comedy every week. And then after doing that for several years, ended up getting hired on just to do customer service, So I used to help people buy puppets and
oh, man.
curriculum and things like that. I know, it's crazy. And then got onto the creative team. So we would, for, 10, 15 years, we would plan the services and create funny moments or just poignant moments in the services. Did that for years. And then after that, just kind of felt like it was time for me to kind of step out. I wasn't performing as much and was really feeling a draw to want to do that more, and didn't really know how I was going to do that, but I felt like it was time to take a step. So I started, just kind of doing freelance video production and stuff like that. And a friend of mine was like, dude, you got to start putting some stuff on social media. And I was kind of like, I don't know that I want to do that. And he just kind of talked me into it. And so I started just kind of doing silly characters and things like that, and just started to gain some traction with that. And so now I basically do that full time, and also do comedy shows and acting and stuff like that. So
That's awesome. Yeah. And in a fun way, you've kind of blown up on TikTok. I've seen the things you put out there. It's just so much fun. The characters you do. So it's great. So.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy doing it.
All right. So the name of the podcast is Maybe You're Like Me. And the thing we're trying to do is figure out if maybe, if we're all like, we've all got dreams, we all got hopes and fears and stuff. And so something we try to do on the beginning of the podcast is if we're going to get past the filters and the version you put of yourself online, we got to start with the filtered version. So if somebody's just following you on Instagram or TikTok, who is the Adam and Chris they're seeing?
Okay. So I wasn't really on social media. Like I never really posted very often, rarely if ever. So, kind of for the reason of like, like the comparison game and all that stuff that kind of comes with social media.
Yeah.
It can be, I know I experienced it looking at other people doing cool stuff and kind of feeling like, they're living this amazing life and I have this boring life or whatever. And so, as far as who am I online? Like now I don't really post much personal stuff online. It's all just comedy stuff. I try to think of posting online as me trying to serve people and give people joy and fun and all of that rather than just kind of talk about me. But
sounds good. It's way better than mine. Mine's just pictures of my kids. And occasionally if my Jimmy John sub is really good looking, that's about it for me.
There you go. So. You got to keep people updated on the food.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, Adam?
Chris, tell me if I'm wrong. I got to feel like I'm an open book online because I post so many stories. So honestly, if somebody was like, how do I get to know you? I'd be like, you can just go to my Instagram and watch a bunch of my stories. So I don't know. I only post, I like primarily post clips from my stand-up shows, some of the stuff from our podcast, It For The Biscuit. And they're mostly stories about my life, which is kind of my bread and butter being a comedian. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think, I don't know. Am I wrong, Chris? Do you get a filtered version of me, or you feel like it's?
I don't look at your stuff online. So
you don't follow me. Okay.
I don't think I follow you.
Yeah. All right. Now that's hurtful. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Somebody actually. I'm super cool and did a podcast interview right before this podcast.
Whoa!
Wow.
The last question the guy asked me was, what do you wish people knew about you? And I was like, dude, I talk so much. If you don't know something about me, it's just because you tuned me out. So I don't know.
When does that episode of Smartless come out?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. All right. So,
that's awesome.
All right. So we do this podcast in a couple of rounds of questions. And actually, this is kind of fun and weird because this is the first time that we've done a podcast with more than one person. And so it's fun trying to figure out this side of it with you guys. So imagine we're on a weird third date. I'll be on a first date, and I'll be the third wheel, I guess, asking both of you questions. Okay. But you guys are both into comedy. You're in comedy. If you had to make a Mount Rushmore of comedy, who's your four guys on your Mount Rushmore of comedy? Go ahead, Adam.
Oh man, Mulaney's at the top. Birbiglia, Nate Bargatze. Oh man, that's a hard one. I don't know what, Chris. Who am I missing? That I don't know.
Steve Martin.
Yeah. I think that's this Mount Rushmore for me could be bigger.
I was gonna say, do you have any like different generation people that are they all kind of, or like do you have like old school comedians that have impacted you? I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be asking the questions. Mike's doing the questions.
Crushing it.
Bill Cosby would have been on there at one point, but I feel like it's not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like all time Mount Rushmore. Seinfeld, but like who am I listening to right now? Is this is I would say these guys are within my generation. So Birbiglia and Bargatze and Taylor Tomlinson, Mulaney, of course. If any of them are in town, if I don't have a show, I'm going.
Yeah, absolutely. or you're probably opening for them, or they're opening for you, one of the two. So
I hope so. They're not opening for me, but I'll open. Hey, if they're listening.
They do actually. Yeah. No, John Mulaney is an active listener. So John,
yes,
boy Adam, you got this. What about for you, Chris?
Yeah, I go back to more of like actors. Jim Carrey is just kind of, I think, the guy who, and you see it a lot in my mannerisms and stuff. He was kind of my idol, the one I emulated growing up, but then also those old school SNL guys, Mike Myers, Chris Farley. Those guys would be up there. But I would say as far as stand up goes, Mike Birbiglia for me is like,
okay.
I just love his style.
Yeah. Did we get you to 4? That feels good. Yeah. When I was thinking about it, I don't know why I defaulted to, actually, you know what I didn't? I put Steve Martin Short. Those guys are.
Oh, Martin Short. Oh,
Martin Short's incredible.
Short.
And then
he's offended. He was listening.
Yeah. He's very offended right now. And then I lumped all the Monty Python guys together. I don't know if that's legal. But I did. So
sure.
Some weird.
Yeah, that's hard because I didn't even mention Chris Farley. Yeah, that's the SNL I grew up on. Like,
yeah, those guys were huge influences on my style and what I like to do.
And like, I'm kicking myself now too. Like, so I've got all those Python guys. Conan O'Brien is a huge influence on me. But then like, if my wife just the other night, she texted somebody that like 90% of my physical anything is like 90% Will Ferrell or 20% Jack Black. Yeah. There's so many good ones. So, I used to watch School of Rock so much that I would whatever Jack Black would do. And it was real bad for a little bit. And so anybody who knew me about 10 years ago, just forgive me now. That's on me. So, all right. So that was the first date round. If we were on a first date, I don't know if I'm super into Mike Birbiglia. I'm just kidding. So I think first dates, you guys did great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right. So next round of questions.
Progressing nicely.
Oh yeah. No, things are going on here. So it's second or third date here. But no, the next round, I call it the slow round. If you are a fan of Mike Birbiglia's podcast, he does a round called the slow round. And these questions, it's a good one. These questions are a little bit less like fun. I like John Mulaney, and a little bit more of who you guys are on the inside, maybe a couple layers down. And so, so you guys have done something that it scares the pants off of a lot of people, and you've made a huge transition in your life. You left what could be seen as a super stable and like constant job, and you guys are doing something that's huge. Like, what did it take for you guys to make that leap of faith, to risk it for the biscuit, if you will?
Oh, good Lord. What did it take? Stupidity, some sort of blind optimism. I think for me, it probably would go back to when I had the job. There were things that I was doing on the side that, and I loved my job, and it was a dream job to begin with, but there were things that I was doing at night and on the weekend that were fostering just creative parts of my life that I had, accessed in other areas. For me specifically, it was a television show that I wrote and produced. It took me about 6 years, and it's a kid's show. And that when that got picked up, it was kind of the beginning of just like, oh, there's some other, like, I am good at this. I could, it wasn't that I was thinking I could make a living at this as much as I was just thinking like I could do this. But having done that, making a season and a bunch of episodes, it like led to people asking me, could you help work on this television show? Or, eventually being a showrunner on the television show that I'm on now. So I would say mine was less about like, I did risk it, but it was a pretty calculated risk. And so I did have something I was going towards something. It wasn't just like, all right, I quit my job. Now I'm going to be a television writer. I mean, I had been a television writer for almost 8 years before I quit my job. And the same thing with comedy. I'd been doing comedy for 4 years or about 3 years before I made the jump. So I think that, and That makes sense, doesn't it? Like it's not that it was just like a foolproof plan, but I didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
but yeah, so like when you were first starting out, so you started doing stand up, and then part of your strengths is storytelling. And so just from watching from a distance. And so you guys, it seems like this is from an outsider perspective from 800 miles away or something, or maybe probably more than that. I don't know how geography works, but it seems like you have your strengths of storytelling and then putting jokes together and making comedy pieces. And then was there like a catalyst, like, this is it, this is really what I want to be doing? Like, was there like an aha moment for you?
For me, I'm always talking about open doors. Chris and I talk about that a lot. They're just a lot of, I was doing things to help. Like I was writing and I was performing and people knew that. But whenever doors started to open up that I wasn't just like pushing open, that was really for me what became indicators. Like I got a dry bar special about 2.5 years into doing this. I didn't make that happen. Someone found my stuff and pitched it for me. But that's a big open door. And so I feel like in my life, because like if you're a guy like me, I kind of always want to do a lot of things. And when it can be easy to just kind of like try to make things happen. But I found that when things are kind of naturally coming to me based off of things I'm doing, but churches are calling me and asking me to come out and perform, or people are going out of their way to say, "Hey, I really like this about you." When I see those indicators, then I'm typically like, okay, I think we're maybe headed in the right direction. Like, here's a good one. Chris, I haven't even really told you this, but like early on in my career in comedy, I got an agent, not a commercial agent, and he saw me at a festival and he said, "I'd love to represent you." And he has sent me on many, many auditions. I have not gotten one of them, and they have been fun, but it's not a strength of mine. Not that I can't act at all. I can, but it's not the thing. Calm down, Chris. But it's not the thing that I'm not. So, any day now, I'm an email away from being like, maybe this isn't a great partnership or whatever. So, I think that maybe answers your question.
Yeah. Is it the same for you, Chris? Like, do you feel like you just see these open doors and it's like led you to that kind of stuff, or what's going on? Have you found your way there?
I would say maybe I push back on the phrase "follow your dreams" a little bit. Like as a Christ follower, I would push back on that idea. For me, it was, I think it was recognizing that I was in a place that I was not using my talents and my gifts, maybe to their full potential. And really just seeking God about how do I feel like you gave me these gifts? I feel like since I was a kid, I would, or maybe a teenager, God was giving me opportunities, or I was finding myself in opportunities where I was able to perform, and the way people would respond to me, I just felt like, oh, I'm really good at this, and I'm different than other people that do this, or just acting or whatever. And so I've always felt like there is this gift inside of me to perform, and I just kind of felt like where I was at, those opportunities weren't really there anymore. And so it was like, okay, God, what do you want to do with this? And man, the church was super supportive. It was wonderful. It was a great transition, but it just, for me, it was more about a stepping out of going, how do I serve more people with these gifts that I have? And I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I want to look back on my life and feel like I squeezed every ounce out of my ability that I could. And I just finally, it was a long process. It was a several year process before I got to the place where I felt peace about, I think it's time for me to step out. So, when I say like that idea of just like following my dreams, I think sometimes that gives the impression that if you were just in the right job, or if you were just doing the right thing, then you'd be happy.
Yeah. Then
you'd be totally fulfilled. And I don't think that's always true. so that's where I would say it was more of like an act of, I feel like, obedience, because it's been a lot harder in a lot of ways than I thought it would be. Like sharing myself with the world
for sure
has been way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And so there are times where I'm like, I don't want to show everything to like, I just want to like be quiet in the corner. And it's like this, but part of, I think, living out the call in my life, if that's what you want to call it, is I think those times of surrendering, just go, I'm going to serve people with what I can do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my mindset.
Well, the thing that's fun, again, like I'm distant from you guys and I just see what you put on the internet. And so on my side, it looks like you guys, like one day you're like, hey, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. I'm going to be an actor. And then it's like, it happened, but there's so many, like, so for you, Adam, like, it's just like you were following those doors that were open. And for you, Chris, it was that you just felt like you needed to take that next step out. And, it's cool to see that there's so many layers behind it, and it's not just like a snap decision and you're out and doing things. And
I would also say too, it was like for me, it wasn't just like, all right, I'm dropping everything I've done in the past and now I'm going to start this whole new life as an actor comedian. The plan was, I'm going to do, freelance video production. Like, I'm going to do what I have to do to provide for my family. And my whole mindset was like, it'll probably take me 2 years to make any money on social media. Like, that's kind of where my mind was. Like, I'm just going to commit to posting regularly on social media. And then I'm hoping in 2 years, I'll be able to make some money. And it just happened way faster than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so it wasn't like this, like, I'm just going to decide to do this. And then I did it. It was like, I'm going to be wise about it and try to take wise steps. And then God, in my opinion, God just accelerated it.
That's cool.
Like, yeah. So
all right. So this is a side question. I didn't pre-plan this one. So if you guys are caught off guard and don't want to answer it, that's fine with me. But all right. So you guys, you started off in kind of an insulated area. So working in a church, like you absolutely know your audience, you know what you're making. How does it feel like putting yourself out there on display, putting your creativity into the world, and maybe not always getting the response that you're used to in like such an insulated environment? Was that weird? Because like, even like just for myself, like this is my first foray into putting a little bit of myself out into the world. And so it's been fun and scary and crazy and everything in between. But what was that like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely relate to that. That was something I hadn't really anticipated as being as difficult as it has been. Like you said, I'm used to the people I'm performing for know what I'm about, know where my heart is, and so to see people interact with some of the things I was putting out and reading into things that I wasn't saying, or taking a joke in a direction that's like, I never intended it to go that direction, was just really disorienting, I think, for me. It kind of scared me, and it made me feel like with my Pastor Bobby character, in my, like, from my viewpoint, I'm laughing at ourselves. Like, it's like, aren't pastors like this? It's this good kind of hearted, hey, have a chuckle about, but then there's people that are interacting with it like, this guy gets it. He's taking down religion, and like, and it's like, that's not really my perspective, but okay, if that's what that's how you're interacting with it. And so just as like this, what did I create? Oh my God, all that kind of stuff. And I just finally had to come to a place of like, I'm going to be misunderstood. And that's just a part of the game. And coming to peace with that has helped tremendously. But at the beginning, that was a big challenge for me.
For maybe those who are listening and don't know the Pastor Bobby character, he's like a super stereotypical pastor character. Some of the videos I've seen, like Southern. You're like a chicken nugget is like our relationship with sin or something. I don't know.
Ooh, that's good. Yes.
That's a little Southern. But yeah, I can see how that's so weird, putting something out and like people who have no concept of you, you're like down with the patriarchy, and it's like, no, I was just eating a chicken nugget, or whatever. Adam, was it weird for you, like kind of putting yourself out there that way?
I think it was actually pretty refreshing for me. I think this is going to sound offensive, but I get to say it because I worked at a church for a long time. The bar is low in the church world when it comes to performing. We were really blessed and lucky to be at a church that had a very high bar, but you still, as like you were saying, you are in this insulated sort of environment where people kind of came to love us so much because we were their guys. Like they loved us. They loved it when you take the stage. Oh, this is going to be funny, or oh, this is going to be a good story, or something like that.
Yeah.
And while that is really handy, it can be a little bit of a handcuff because it can, for me, I found myself at times not pushing as hard as I have to now.
Yeah.
Just because of the way that the arts are in the church. And so now I feel like I have if I have a win, it's significant in a different way. And I really don't mean to minimize the power of performing in a church, because I do value that, and I perform in churches all the time. But there's something about putting your stuff out there for the world to see and creatively judge. And I'm not talking about trolls. I'm just talking about, am I connecting with people? And so whenever I have a video do really well, or even a joke at a comedy club or whatever, it's a different kind of satisfaction, because I'm just like, okay, I'm reaching people in a different way. And they didn't just walk in here loving me from the beginning. Yeah. So that's a different kind of success. And so I really like that.
Yeah. It's there's just so many options now that if they don't like you, just click to the next one. But for somebody to connect with what you're doing, that does sound cool. Like you've really done something. If you can get somebody to breathe out of their nose heavily at their phone for a second, that's a big deal sometimes. So, and honestly, bring somebody joy in our crazy world. It's a big deal too. All right. One last question. And this is completely off of comedy, performing, all that stuff. But you guys have been friends now for, I'm guessing, 15, 20 years. Is that fair?
Gosh.
Did you guys like each other in the beginning?
I think it was wasn't it early 2000s? Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
because you tried out for the drama team. That's, I feel like, how I met you, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Is that how you
I think that's how we met. That would have. Oh, right. Yeah. 2001.
I feel like that was
2002, something like that. So we're going on 20 years.
Chris, did you feel like, who's this kid coming out of my space? Kind of square up at him?
I was never.
He was like, who is the savior of my drama team?
No, I do remember Adam did a funny thing where he, after the tryouts, I don't know, you got my personal number somehow, and you called as a character. You were saying you were, was it Barry Pilson? You're Adam Bush's agent, Bill Pilson.
Yeah, Bill Pilson.
And you were basically trying to get me
just
to pick Adam to be
talking Adam up for the free job.
Well, that Adam guy, he's really got the stuff. I like to imagine he's like,
fantastic.
Listen, that Adam guy, he's really got the stuff. Sees, he's got the whole bit.
You remember Bill Pilson's voice, Adam?
Oh yeah, he was like, "Hey, Chris Munch, Bill Pilson here." And then Adam Bush, he's aces. Am I right? Why don't you give him a call? He deserves a shot. This is such a dumb voice.
Yeah.
I love that for you guys. So you guys have a lot of history, and you work together for a long time. And sometimes if you make a friendship in a work environment, then you're work friends. But it seems like number one, you guys have built a lasting friendship, long enough that even after you're in different workspaces and all that you're still number one friends. But number two, you're friends enough to start a podcast together and wanting to be together. So what is it about your friendship, or what are you looking for in those? Because I feel like a lot of times as adults, it's hard to find those good, meaningful friendships. So what is it about your guys' friendship that's keeping you guys going?
There's also a third spoke to this wheel. Gary Hornstein is kind of a piece of our our friend dynamic. But I would say, I think our Trinity. I think it probably first starts with an understanding and knowing that we need friends in our life. And I think sometimes we think, I'll be fine. And so I think just kind of going, I can't do this by myself. I don't want to do this by myself. And that's probably the starting point. I would say Adam is a huge part of our lasting friendship, just because he is so good at maintaining relationships and continuing to reach out. And he's always seems to be aware somehow of, hey, we haven't talked in a while. I should, I'll give you a call and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like Adam is the one who has been a huge driving force in keeping us as close. But, the older you get, the more you realize, like, you just don't have people in your life that you have 20 years of history with.
Yeah.
You don't just come around people like that all the time. And so Adam and Gary, and then just the fact that we've worked a long time together and or have similar interests and all that kind of stuff, I think it just helped us to make space for that and value that. And we've got a weekly meetup that's kind of basically just like a little small group that we've been doing that for 2-3 years now.
Yeah,
it's just every Monday it's on the schedule. Things get busy, but we show up and we talk and communicate. So I it's not complicated, but it's not easy, I guess, is maybe the way to say it. It's pretty simple. But
yeah, it sounds like you guys just have built-in intentionality into your relationships, and that seems to be a driving factor. Would you agree with that, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I also think it's important to be aware of the people in your life who keep popping up in unique situations. Like, Chris and I, we both loved storytelling, and that's kind of how we sort of became friends at the beginning. But then after, we worked together for a long time, we both fell into the situation where we were leaving our jobs and getting into comedy. And I think Chris and I could do this separately, but I think, especially the older you get, I think it's important to be like, to notice when you are on the same trajectory as something, or when there's some sort of commonality there. And so to be like, just like, hey, just give mental assent to the fact that, like, we are doing the same thing. Should we maybe, like, because we don't have to have a podcast together. I mean, it is beneficial for both of us, but like, I think whenever you find things like that in your life and people like that in your life, then it is your responsibility to say, this person is supposed to be in my life. And so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we stay connected. And it isn't complicated, but it is hard. We have kids and a life and bills and a mortgage, and I'm on this. But it's as simple as, like, I'm out traveling. I need somebody to open for me. Like, why wouldn't I call my best friend to come do it? And I can't tell you how many times I've called Chris and be like, will you please? I know you got all these Steven videos. You do them in the hotel room. Please come with me. Or like Gary's not performing. Like, will you please come with me? I will pay for you to come with me. And I think there are too many guys, especially, that I meet, or when I was a pastor, that would say, I just don't have any friends. And I really, really believe it came down to intentionality. Yeah. I do think that I think there is something to asking God for friends. I think that it doesn't come naturally for everyone. And so I think that's a good first step. But then I also think, if you want a friend, be a friend to someone. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing when I'm, I am the one in the group that texts everybody. Like, I've texted these guys probably 7 times today with no response, and it's fine. That's my responsibility.
Chris, get it together, man.
I was in a meeting all day today.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds likely.
Always an excuse.
Sounds likely. No. Actually, so as you were talking, it reminded me of a story that I heard a long time ago. It was actually, we were talking about Steve Martin and Martin Short earlier, but it put a new light on it. Martin Short was talking about how seriously, like, he loves how serious Steve Martin takes comedy, and he was saying that Steve Martin would call Martin Short like months before he would be on the Tonight Show running jokes by him. And like, I always just thought it was cool that he had like the commitment to his craft, that he was always thinking about like what his next appearance was going to be or what he could do on X, Y, and Z. But I never put it in the context of friendship before, that he had that friend that he could call to help make it better. And I just think it's cool that like you guys have that for each other. You have it with, with the third spoke as well, the third Trinity. But it's cool that you guys have those people that you can bounce things off of, and that you have a friendship that you got a couple of things that are heading in the same direction. And so you can bounce things off of each other and help each other along and just make yourselves and what you're doing better. So it's kudos for finding that friendship, guys.
Yeah, man.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that.
All right. There's one question on the podcast we like to ask everybody, and you're on the podcast, so you got to answer it. And it can be as serious as you are learning the deepest thing ever, or it could be as simple as you're learning how to make macaroni and cheese in the microwave. But what's something you're learning right now? Let's start with Chris.
Man, I'm learning just live performance. Most of my background in doing live performance has always been sketches and, doing characters and things like that on stage, which I absolutely love. But what I'm trying to learn right now is more in line how to merge like my characters and my stand-up together to create a more compelling live performance. That's really where my focus is right now. So, yeah,
that's awesome. What about you, Adam?
I think the easy answer is probably I'm learning how to write jokes better, and that's pretty constant. But I think what's more interesting or more helpful for people is I'm learning how to say no to opportunities. Obviously, the old adage is true. If you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Well, it can be really easy when you work in this field to say yes to something that ultimately means you're saying no to your family. And I have a responsibility to work and take care of my family financially, but I also have a responsibility to be a good husband and father. And I hopefully am learning, the older I get, to take every request or opportunity like individually into account and say, if I say yes to this, what am I going to be saying no to? If it's something else professionally, usually that's okay. There's kind of a balancing act there. But if it is a no to my family, then I really want to scrutinize it to make sure that ultimately it's beneficial for my family, because I'm not looking to be filling stadiums up of people coming to see my stand up and to lose a relationship with my kids and my wife. Like that is not an option. And I will say that comedy is not pro family. And that's pretty easy to see just by looking at any comic's life. I believe that I am called to do this, but I do not believe that it is at the cost of my family. And so that is something that I journal about pretty regularly, and I talk to my wife, and we have hard conversations. And I unfortunately have made the mistake too many times of saying yes to something that was at the cost of my family, and they ended up carrying the boulders. But my hope is the older I get, the closer I will get to making the correct decisions there.
That is super deep and insightful. Good job, man. Oh man. Yeah. That's, if I've messed up that one more times than I can count, and
Most guys have.
Yeah. And so
all of us have.
But sounds like you've got it figured out, you jerk. So just kidding.
Don't have my wife on the podcast.
Actually, next week we're having her on. That's incredible that you had mentioned that. Yeah, she's great.
Perfect.
So, all right, this is the last round of the podcast, and I call it the common ground round. And it is a round where we see if we're like each other. And so you guys got your 3x5 cards and your markers there. And so I'm going to ask you guys 5 this or that style questions. We'll do them one at a time, and you have to pick one. There's no third options. And let's just see if we're like each other. Sound good?
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yep,
all right.
That's great.
All right. So This is, I'm not even going to give the qualifier. Would you rather watch The Rock or Vin Diesel?
Oh gosh.
Again, and these are all over the place questions too.
Okay.
All right, let me know when you guys are ready.
Oops.
Writing.
This is great. Everyone's gonna get to see Adam's foo-foo handwriting.
Calm it down.
Here we go.
This is an audio podcast.
It's good. We're gonna throw it on the YouTubes. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I put The Rock. What do you got, Adam? What do you got, Chris? The Rock, and I can. Oh, you got Vin Diesel there. Did you not put Diesel, or I couldn't figure out how to spell it either?
We're on a first name basis. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's fantastic. You and old Vin there. What about the Vin does it for you there? Is it the pacifier? The movie?
Well, I was going to put The Rock. I was going to put The Rock, but then I realized I love Marvel so much, and Vin Diesel plays Groot, and so I've watched so much more of Vin Diesel's work. So
yeah,
the Dees.
Wow. So, Chris, am I to understand that you are betraying Marvel and are a DC fan? Is that what happened there?
He doesn't care.
The Rock.
He doesn't know what's going on in Marvel.
I don't. Kind of true. What was it? What is the movie? The Rock. Jumanji.
Oh,
I thought that
solid
was
choice.
Yeah, so that's where I went with The Rock.
I also would have accepted the Rock as the 90s movie with Nicolas Cage. What? Oh, that Jumanji?
Wait,
The Rock. That was a bad joke. Never mind. But yeah, Jumanji, great movie.
Yeah, Chris, no one's thinking about The Rock when they think about Jumanji. That's a Robin Williams property.
No, I'm 100% in agreement with that. But the question was not Jumanji. The question was The Rock. And so I got to Jumanji through The Rock. Amen. That sounds good. Okay.
Oh man, this might be the end of your guys' friendship on this. I'm really sorry, guys, if this is going to drive a wedge between you guys.
Oh no.
All right. All right. Next one, we are going with fast food W's. Would you rather have Whataburger or Wendy's?
Oof.
I got mine written down. You guys got yours? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I want Whataburger. What do you guys got? Wendy's, and I think that's Whataburger. Your handwriting's hard to see there. What does that say? Wendy's. Oh no! What are you guys picking Wendy's for?
You know what? I like the Wendy's fries. It's been
they're very good.
That's true.
Many moons since I've had Wendy's, but I like their fries.
My deal is
I went to Whataburger like maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, and it was not a great experience.
Yeah, I went to Whataburger last week, and it was terrible.
I've got a dumb thing that most of my life, my family, my extended family lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we lived in South Florida. And so we would get to go to Texas like once a year. And in that once a year, we'd always go to Whataburger. And so Whataburger is Christmas food to me. So like people normally eat like ham and turkey.
I get it.
Give me a Whataburger. It's a good time. So
I get it. I mean, that's what, In-N-Out Burger is for me. Like, when I'm traveling or something and you get to go to In-N-Out, it's like amazing.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
People who live around one are probably like, oh, it's average.
Yeah, it does the trick. All right. So keep it moving here. All right. This one's a strange one as well. Would you rather become as tiny as an ant or as tall as a giraffe? So you could be Ant-Man or the big version of Ant-Man. I feel like you guys are both perplexed right now and upset at me.
I'm trying to think of a good reason why.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I put ant. What did you guys put?
Oof.
They got giraffes and tall as a giraffe. I am not like you guys, apparently.
We are not.
Why are you guys going giraffe?
What's going on?
I'm 5'5", man. I've been small my whole life. I'm ready to be taller.
Yeah.
You got a short king here?
I'm
okay.
6'2". I'm 6'2", so you're used to the tallness a little bit. Not like crazy tall, but I just wouldn't. I think I'd rather be looking down on everyone as opposed to looking up at everybody.
My thought is, I had the thought I could be like the magic school bus, and I could get in a little submarine, and I could go inside your body, and I could save your life. I could fight for you on the inside.
That's kind of gross. Some of that was gross.
That is kind of gross.
Yeah, well, when I'm pulverizing your kidney stones, don't come crying to me, all right? So
there we go. Man,
I saved a life. You just wanted to look down on people, so you should feel bad about yourselves right now.
That's it.
All right. So actually, we were talking about French fries a second ago. It's a French fry question. Would you rather go regular French fries or sweet potato fries?
Ooh.
I feel like I've asked you guys some pretty hard hitting questions, and this is the one that hit you the hardest today.
It's potato, P-A-T-A-T-O, right?
Nobody cares.
No one knows for sure. Yeah,
no one cares. Okay.
Everyone listening now knows that Chris does not know how to spell potato. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I went sweet. What did you guys go? We got a regular and sweet.
Oh,
yes. I've finally been joined again.
Yeah.
We did it.
That's a win no matter which way you do it. Adam, are you not a sweet potato fry fan? Or are you just...
No, I love them. It's just, I love Chick-fil-A fries, steak fries, Wendy's fries. There are more regular fry options out there, let's be honest.
That's on me. I didn't think through it. You could still get a sweet potato waffle fry. So I feel slightly vindicated by that.
I will say I hate sweet potato waffle fries. I'm not a big fan of those.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks.
Sweet potato fries, but yeah.
Hot take.
Take. Don't cancel me.
Tough stuff here. All right. This is the last one. All right. You guys are both professional gentlemen. And so would you rather an accidental CC or accidental reply all on an email? Accidental carbon copy or accidental reply all? Here we go. You guys ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I put reply all. What did you guys do? We got a CC. We got a CC. Look at you guys. You guys are just teaming up on me. I think you got some like secret, the secret thing figured out there. You just want to.
We're in the same room. Actually.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. You guys are in sign language.
We're not.
Oh man. Maybe one of these days I'll be a little bit more like you guys and just CCing all over the place there.
Just keep working at it. Just keep working.
One of these days I'll keep my finger on the pulse there. All right. So for people that are listening today that maybe this is their first time hearing from you guys and they want to get to know you a little bit better or follow along with your comedy, what are great places for them to follow you? Let's start with you, Adam.
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter at Hey Adam Bush. And I post all of my clips there. You can watch my special on my YouTube. You can go to my website, heyadambush.com, and sign up for my email list. And you'll know when my Dry Bar special is coming out, which is in the next few months.
That's awesome. All right, what about you, Chris?
Yeah. So chrismunchcomedy.com is my website. On all the socials, Chris Munch Comedy. I do personalized messages as my characters. If you want me to say, happy birthday or happy Valentine's Day as Steven, you can find all that stuff on my website or on my website, or click the link in my bio on my social media stuff. So
yeah, Steven Stevens is something special. If you're listening, I put my full weight behind Steven Stevens, a character. You have the Mike Burns seal of approval there. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being on Maybe You're Like Me. And for those of you listening, thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for having us.
We did it.
Bye.